Japan is a very expensive country to travel in. This is what I've been hearing for a very long time. Now, how expensive is it in 2022? Let's go and have a look.
Let me provide a bit of background. The economy of Japan boomed in the post-war years. It developed at such speed with a relatively large population that many thought it would overtake the United States. But then the financial crisis hit, Japanese property values were hit as they were in an inflated bubble, and then the economy shrank. Since then, for the past 3 decades, Japan has struggled financially. Wages have been stagnant for decades, inflation at practically zero, GDP to debt ratio is also the highest in the world. Basically, Japan has been getting poorer year after year since the 90s. So, what does this mean for you, the average traveller? Well, Japan gets cheaper year after year, assuming you come from a country with an economy that's been growing since 1990, which is most Western countries. Let's apply some sushinomics. A plate of sushi at Japanese fast food restaurants has been 100 yen for decades. If you arrived in Japan in 1997 with 100 yen in your pocket and you were the average American tourist, you would have had to work 5.66 minutes to afford this plate of sushi. In 2020, it would have been 3.4 minutes, and today, in December 2022, due to the strong dollar, and the sushi price has actually increased to 120 yen, it's just 2.9 minutes. Less than half of the time it would have been back in 1997. But why do prices stagnate in Japan? Well, one reason is cultural. Japanese companies don't like putting up prices, and Japanese consumers don't like paying high prices. Japanese also tend to stick to one company throughout their careers, and as we all know, jumping ship to another employer is a good way to get a pay increase.
So I just bought these 2 items from the 7-Eleven behind me. The corn stick was 12 yen. The company increased the price in 2006 after 40 years from 10 yen to 12 yen, and they apologized on Twitter for it. And this ice cream bar this year went from 60 yen to 70 yen. And the company actually put out an apology on national TV for 60 seconds, apologizing for the price increase. And that was after 25 years. For those of you who are curious of what they actually are, this is just a stick of corn in a packet. And the price is 12 yen, which is less than 10p. It's like 8 pence. And it tastes pretty good. The other item is this ice cream bar. I've never had it before. I'm not even sure what flavour it is. It just says blue. But the price was 72 yen, which is about 50p. It's a bubblegum ice lolly. And it tastes okay. Very sweet though.
I remember myself when I came to Japan in 2011, you could buy 100 yen drinks from some vending machines. Here we are 11 years later and they still exist on the streets of Tokyo. This price pressure on Japanese companies forced them to look into their business models for efficiencies. Some sushi restaurants in Japan have used automation. You walk in and you interact with the machine, you find your own table, order on an iPad, and the food is brought to you by a machine. And then when you're finished, you check out by machine. The kitchen also relies on automation, sushi making machines, thereby dramatically reducing labour costs. Let's have a very quick look at that Big Mac Index. For those that don't know, the Big Mac Index is a humorous way to measure PPP or purchasing power parity. A Big Mac is broadly an identical good all over the world, so it will give you an idea of living costs in any particular country. As you can see from the chart, a Big Mac costs just over half of what it costs in the United States. So for the average traveller coming from a wealthy Western country, Japan remains affordable for the most part. There are some things that are expensive though. Rail fares such as the Shinkansen admired around the world for high speed and reliability, but unfortunately you will pay for it. A one-way ticket between Osaka and Tokyo will cost upwards of $100. Compared to taking the bus or flying, this remains an expensive option. Luckily for tourists, Japan Rail offers train passes where you can have unlimited use of the trains for 1, 2 or 3 weeks. For people on a specific itinerary, this may make a lot of sense. Accommodation can be cheap. I stayed in capsule hotels, which can be affordable, less than $30 or even $15 in some cases, depending on the location and season. They are also exceptionally good standard. Which brings me to the point of value for money. Yes, some things in Japan may cost the same or a little bit more, but the quality you receive for the money you pay is exceptional. Service is always excellent, with no tipping required. Staff will bow to you when you enter into a store or make a purchase. They really do know how to handle customer service. Another thing is there are very little scams or overcharging to be aware of. When we get scammed on a holiday, it eats into our travel budget, but the near absence of these means you won't have a problem.